Namaskar and a very good evening to everyone. We all here know the benefits of education to both children and larger society. So there is a section of population where we have been struggling to make everyone understand this importance. But as civil society and as policy makers and policy influencers who knows the importance, the question is, have we done enough to educate and protect children? If we have done something, can we say that it has worked, it hasn't worked? What we should do more to educate children and also to protect children, and where do we see the linkages? So today we will be discussing all this in this panel discussion. Also, we know is education can potentially break the intergenerational cycles of not only poverty but deprivation by empowering and enabling children to gain the knowledge and skills essential to cope up with the challenges of life. And there are evidences, there are very strong evidences that link education with the improvements in health and nutrition. And most likely, children who are out of school are more likely to get exploited and abused. There are higher chances of them likely to come into or pushed into conflict with law, getting trafficked, and are more vulnerable to various other forms of child exploitation like child marriage and child labor. Also important is to ensure safety of children and ensure quality of education so that those who are within the school system don't leave it or drop out. So one aspect is to bring the dropouts of the children who are out of school, to bring them into the school system. And the other challenge is to retain the children who are already in the schools, so giving them that kind of safe environment, giving the quality of education so that they remain there and don't leave. So we all know, especially in India and many developing countries, especially in India, enrollment now is not that big issue. What is challenging is the retention. So when I'm talking about the school safety related issues, we know that RT also bans the corporal punishment and talks about physical and mental abuse of children within schools. And we have Supreme Court order to have POCSO committees in schools to address child sexual abuse. We have NCRT guidelines and the state level education department's guidelines and orders in place to ensure school safety. But the question again is it working? Is it not working? Where are we right now? Also in our country, we have right to education that paved way to universal elementary education for children, and we did good in terms of elementary level enrollments, but the quality of education, as I said, and achieving RT norms or learning levels of children, etc., still in question. We also have Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. It is also important to know what is the policy and the legal framework in the country. So we have Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan, the integrated scheme for school education that subsumed Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, RMSA, and teacher education. Now we have the Prabandh project appraisal, budgeting, achievements, and data handling system under the this is a centrally sponsored scheme under Samagra Shiksha. Through this, government tries to take the education indicators, and we have NEP, we all know, which is directly linked with the SDG goal 4, that talks about, by 2030, all girls and boys complete free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education. But I'm sure the pandemic has, derailed everything and has put in like more and more challenges before us. There are prominent organizations that have raised the alarm that the pandemic has increased child marriage, child labor, traffic, and school dropouts, especially in the developing countries. This certainly has increased the child vulnerability, and we need to work with the children agencies. We need to engage with the youth, not only for redressal reporting, but also in the rehabilitation, because we need to break the demand cycle if we want to talk about the sustainability of our efforts. Also important is to listen to children. So child participation is very, very important. Also need to understand, if we say always, child friendly procedures, child friendly approaches, then what does it mean? We need to jot down what does it mean. Also need to have the policy or the guidelines or SOPs or our program intervention need to be child centric, victim centric, trauma focused. This is one very important issue. Also, what we need to focus on is working with the child, community based child protection mechanism, the community based child protection committees. Also important is not only talking about bringing back the children in the school, but also where children are willing to come in the schools, but there are family vulnerabilities, maybe because of poverty or other social protection issues. The family forces the child, though the child is willing to, to come in the school system, but they are forced to leave the school system. There also we need to work very closely. When children are in the school, we also need to consider the fact that we need to create an environment which is safe for the children, where the children and the parents are feeling, when they're sending their children to the school, they're feeling safe about, they're feeling happy about it. So we need to create that school environment. Also important is, we need to have age appropriate conversations. We need to have community based child support centers in place, establishing social capitals. Why not to do this? This is going to sustain our affairs. Also important is to putting system in place. We have laws, we have policies, we have guidelines, we have government orders, but what is important is to have the systems in place. We need to look into the quality of implementation of the policies and the laws. Also important is the child safeguarding policy. This is not about you, me, or we can't single out one individual, we can't single out one institute, entity, but it is everyone's duty to protect the children and safeguard the children.